Okay, so today we are going to be looking at our expository essay. We're going to start by writing body paragraphs 1 and 2. This will end up being a 5-paragraph essay over the life and times of William Shakespeare. Today, like I mentioned, we're going to start with body paragraphs 1 and 2. Next time, we will write body paragraph 3 and the introduction. And then the day after that, we will do the conclusion and then put everything together and check on transitions and such. So our first two body paragraphs, I have them listed here, body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2. You will need to write a Schaefer method paragraph for both of these paragraphs. And we have already provided the links to the articles that we want you to use to find information for your paragraphs. So you don't need to go out and search for new information. We have the articles that we are requiring you to use. So please do not use something else. These are the required sources to use. So my recommendation for getting started is to open up a blank Google Doc. This way you can, as you're reading through the articles, you can find quotes that you might want to use in your paragraph and kind of start to pull them in. So I might just start with the biography article. So I'm just going to say biography. And then I can click on the link to the biography and read through it. So there is a ton of information on here. One thing that I would really recommend is that you don't focus too much on Shakespeare's personal life. So this is something that I see happen pretty frequently. People really focus all on where was he, when was he born, who was in his family, right? And what really makes Shakespeare interesting is not the fact that he was born and he had a family, it was his career, right? How he came to be a playwright, what his plays were, etc. So make sure
I'm
that you
James
really
Shapiro. This week in
I'm going to close out of that because it's going to start auto playing a video. So make sure you're really focusing more on his career versus his personal life. And I mentioned that here, that you want to avoid trivial information and details of his life. You can maybe include one sentence about his personal life, but that should not be the focus of your paragraph. Your paragraph should really focus on who Shakespeare was and what he's known for versus his personal life, which maybe isn't as relevant for a 1-paragraph biography, right? If you're going to write a lengthy biography, then absolutely we would talk about that, but we're not doing that. So once you've read through the article and you have found information that you want, then you're going to write a Schaefer method paragraph. You are not required to color code, but you are more than welcome to color code if you would like to. So it's completely up to you. Not required, but if it helps you, then that's great. So your paragraph needs to have a topic sentence that states the main idea. So our main idea here is really going to be who Shakespeare is, okay? Since this is not a summary of the article, you do not need to include the author's name or the title in your topic sentence. This is a biography paragraph, so you do not need to include author's name like you would for a article of the week. Then a concrete detail that discusses his career and why he continues to be well known, 2 commentary sentences that show your analysis or explanation, and then a concluding sentence that restates your main idea. This is a minimum. So I personally would encourage you probably to include more than 1 concrete detail. But just remember that each concrete detail does require 2 commentary sentences after it. So if you are going to include more than 1 detail from the article, make sure that you layer it like we talked about before. Think about that hamburger being your paragraph, right? That you layer cheese and then the patty and then cheese and then the patty in the same way that you would layer a concrete detail and then the commentary sentences and then another concrete detail and then the commentary sentences. And again, it does not need to be color-coded to be graded. One thing that I want to mention about this first paragraph, this will make me lose my mind, is your topic sentence. This is something that I see all the time and is not an acceptable topic sentence. So what I tend to see very often is William Shakespeare was born on April 23rd, 1546. Okay? Is this a topic sentence? Hopefully you are all screaming no in your head because this is not a topic sentence. This is a fact about Shakespeare, but this is not a topic sentence unless the entire rest of your paragraph is going to be about the day that Shakespeare was born, right? Which I highly doubt that it would be. So do not do this, okay? This will make me want to set your paper on fire. Let's put a cross out through that. Do not do that, okay? Absolutely not. Under no circumstances should you have a specific fact in your topic sentence, okay? Your topic sentence could talk about how he was a well-known author and playwright, or something like that, where it references his career, but you don't want to give like a specific personal fact about him in your topic sentence. One other thing that I want to mention is that the first time that you reference a famous author, or famous anyone really, or any time that you're really mentioning even anyone by name in a paper, you want to refer to them by their full name. Me take off my strike through. Okay, so the first time that you mention him, you do want to say his full name was whatever you're going to say about him, right? The next time that you talk to about him, you just want to say his last name. Shakespeare wrote whatever, okay? Do not refer to him as William. He's not your friend. You don't know him. You guys aren't on a first name basis. You need to refer to him by his last name, okay? And that same thing goes for like when you're doing like article of the week. If the author's last name is Peters, right? The first time that you refer to them, you use their first name. So Bill Peters. And then the next time that you refer to them, you can just say Peters mentions da-da-da. Okay, so make sure that you are referring to him by his full name first, and then every time after that, you can refer to him by his last name only. Okay, so that is paragraph 1. Paragraph 2 is going to be very similar, but the focus of paragraph 2 is life in Elizabethan England. So Shakespeare lived during the reign, partly of Henry VIII, but mostly of not Henry VIII, mostly during the reign of Elizabeth I, and then a little bit of her successor. So we call this era in England Elizabethan England because we name the era after the ruler. So Elizabeth I was a very prolific ruler in England. Life in the 1600s is basically when Shakespeare was living and writing in London and in England. So again, you have a link to an article about Elizabethan England. So you are going to use this article to find information for your paragraph. There are a few things that I want to mention about this article. So make sure that you do not use this quote right here. Okay, do not use this. When Shakespeare was active as an author, writing about London was in vogue. This is like the #1 quote that people use, and it's not a good quote, because if you keep reading, it says, although Shakespeare never contributed to this popular genre, London appears as a setting in several of the history plays, but very few of his plays actually take place in London. So please don't say this because it's not relevant to Shakespeare, okay? So there's lots of information about like what the court and the royalty looked like, how you could make a living in London, poverty, the plague. These are all things that would have had an effect on Shakespeare and his writing. So these are going to be the things that you really want to focus on for your paragraph. And again, when you are ready to write your paragraph, so you could, in the same document, you could then have like Elizabethan England, and then copy down your quotes that you wanted to perhaps use, and then go back and select from them. And then you're going to, again, write a Schaefer method paragraph, same parameters as above, a topic sentence, a concrete detail, 2 commentary sentences, and a concluding sentence. Those are, again, the minimum requirements. You are encouraged to include more than 1 concrete detail, especially because you guys are pre-AP, okay? So minimum is like C level. So if you want to do better than a C, then I would encourage you to attempt to include more than 1 concrete detail. We will talk a little bit more next time about how to cite your quotes. since we are using all the same articles, it won't be that hard to go back in afterwards. But if you do know how to do in-text citations, you are welcome to include them. I'm not going to require them right now. This is sort of like a rough draft, if you will. And then our final draft, you will be required to have those in-text citations. So put these 2 paragraphs on one doc together and submit them. Make sure that you delete any extraneous quotations or notes that you took, right? Maybe you want to have 2 Google Docs, one for notes and one for your paragraphs. I don't know. It's up to you. But make sure that what you're submitting is just your 2 paragraphs and nothing else. And then, like I mentioned, the next time we will go over paragraph 3 and the introduction. And then the time after that, the conclusion and the editing process. So if you have questions, you can call into a Zoom time, or you can email me or send me a Canvas message anytime.